All right, here we have another back test. This one is on a channel called Free WFR. And I set up this back test. I started with March, and March was pretty good. And so I thought I'll do February and I'll do the 4 months prior to that. So a 6 month back test, basically. And this channel, it calls itself a leaked, free leaked signal channel. Um, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I test a lot of channels that are aggregators. I mean, some of them are just flat out copies of each other. Um, and they lie about who they are and they pretend to be somebody they're not. And I guess this guy, he's at least honest about who he is. So, I'm not sure it matters really at the end of the day, but, hey. Um, so let's take a look at the results, and we'll start with March and we'll work backwards. So for March, we did $1,386.10, about 13%, almost 14%, and which is pretty good for a month. That's actually really good. But oftentimes when you get months like this, you find that it's real hard to sustain those kinds of results, and so your results tend to be lumpy, or you get months with anyway. We'll keep going. We'll take a look at the other months. You can see here at the beginning of March, we did have some losses right off the bat, but then we recovered nicely. Entries by hours, not a whole lot of Asia, mostly Europe and US, which would lead me to believe this guy is either in Western Europe or he's here in the US. Here's our statistical scattering of losses and wins, and the symbols that we trade. A lot of gold, but a lot of currency pairs as well. So let's take a look at February. And you can see that in February we didn't really do as well. We lost about $435. So let's subtract that from our March total. 435.80. That leaves us with about $950 for the months of March and February. So, that's not terrible. That's pretty decent. But, you look at February and it was mostly just downhill. Not really any period of real significant win. And you can see we've got a little bit more activity in Asia, and maybe that's why he curtailed Asia, or whoever these signals are from curtailed Asia because they were having problems in February, so they didn't trade those sessions as much in March. Statistical scattering of wins and losses, and our list of signals that we've traded. Again, gold and currency pairs. So let's take a look at October to January. And you can see we did about $939.80. So if we add that to February and March, that puts us at $1,890.10 gain for the last 6 months, which is, almost 19%. That's not terrible for 6 months. But I feel like the devil is in the details here. And you can see that, we had a real severe trend down to about, I think, $8,800. So we lost almost $1,200. And I think our drawdown was a bit worse. I think at our lowest spot, yeah, $7,700.26. And I think that I don't know that most people would sit through that. I think most people would cut their losses right about there, or maybe a little earlier. I mean, because face it, you have no idea what's going to happen. from this point forward. If you're sitting right here, you don't know that this is going to happen, right? And most people's psychology isn't strong enough to handle that kind of loss and just keep on going. So, let's just be honest with ourselves and say that this probably would be the point where we turned off the tap and moved somewhere else, right? But if we look at the big picture, it doesn't look terrible. It's just, and even if we held on, let's say you're trading a prop firm account, you probably would have blown it right about here. So that's definitely something that's worth keeping in mind when we look at channels like this. So there you have it.